What's up, everybody? We are back. John Della Rose here, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction, coming at you with another review. And this is another out-of-print book. I think what happens is I actually make a list of the books I find that are out of print that seem interesting to me, and I do try to hunt them down at comic shops, or if somebody finds them for me at cover price or less, I try to find them because they're neat. And so you will find lots of out-of-print rarities and things like that on this channel, and I hope that you'll hit the like and subscribe button and enjoy going through these with me, because it's fun to track them down, and if you can enjoy them with me, it makes it all the better. This is X-23, the complete collection. X-23 is this like Wolverine gal that they made in the mid 2000s and 2005, I believe it was, or 2004 is when it started with this comic NYX. Joe Quesada did it, and he didn't finish it. And so he just slowed down the production of the book. She was kind of a background character in that, and then that book kind of fizzled. And they actually took the character X-23 from it and just gave her own book at that point. So NYX was a weird book, and it starts out with this like raver girl who you're following, and X-23 is like hooker, even though she looks like a little girl. I mean, it's just very, very ugly stuff. And that's kind of in keeping with her origin and all that, which goes through this book. But she started her own miniseries, which is a 6-part miniseries, goes into a next miniseries, Target X, which are both done by Craig Kyle on the writing and Christopher Yost. And the first penciler is Billy Tan, the second is Mike Choi, which are very good and very, very interesting to look at. We'll get into their art a little bit in a sec. I think the colors actually add a lot to it. Colorist Sonia Oback, especially on the Mike Choi stuff, really adds a ton to the book there. And then they get a Captain Universe one-shot, which crosses over with X-23. I guess there was an event at the time going on with Captain Universe with a bunch of different people. Women of Marvel event, one-off also. And then that's where Marjorie Liu takes over. And she also then does a mini-series of X-23 that's 3 issues. And then there's a tiny story that is a Ghost Rider X-23 crossover, which takes place in some other book. So there you go. So this is basically the collection of almost all of her adventures during this time period. This goes from 2005 to 2010. And I'd say it's just her solo adventures, because they actually go through and they have a couple pages explaining that she joined X-Men and X-Force, and those are not contained within here. And the NYX volumes is not contained within here, though it is mentioned. So Craig Kyle does a nice little introduction. We get right into this story. And this is a 6-part decompressed story that you can read very, very fast. You could probably read the entire 6 parts in like less than half an hour. Here's Billy Tan's art. Pretty signature. Draws very pretty girls. Very, very detailed figures and all that. Nice layouts. I'd say, it's on the stiff side. When you get in these like overly detailed art, you kind of lose the sense of motion, I notice, that a lot of comics has. And that bothers me to some degree. Billy Tan does it well enough that, that it's pretty enough to look at to where it's all right. And basically X-23 is a clone of Wolverine who, they screwed up the cloning process. So she's a girl. And then they train her as a weapon to kill everybody. So it's a lot like Bloodshot from the Valiant, which actually came out, 15 years prior to this. And it's just a trained weapon working for a lab, going out on different missions to kill people and the like. And eventually she ends up killing everybody in her lab. Now she meets up with this like family, which is her aunt or something like that, and joins them at one point. And that's that. I mean, she looks very much like a little girl in this oddly shaped head from the sized head from Billy Tan compared to the body here. I don't know what the point was with that. But here we go. Find out that the lab people were going to make a big army of her. And so the main gal who's been dealing with this sets her loose and has her kill everybody. And then in her bloodlust, she ends up killing her kind of mommy there and ends up in New York City running around. So there you go. Now we get to the Mike Choi art, which is better than the Billy Tan art. And like I said, this is all due to the coloring. Look at the shading and the coloring here. They do these almost realistic skin tones, which are very detailed. And that's all colorist right there. Look at this cool little coloring job. This, like, Wolverine inside sort of thing. But what happens in this miniseries is she gets captured by Daredevil and Captain America and then kind of recounts some of her examples, or her adventures. Some of the art just doesn't work for me, but that's all right. A lot of it does. A lot of talking in this book. And this is indicative of the decompressed style. But she ends up, like, recounting that she tried to join a school, ends up being problems for the family there. They made it look like she was going to kill Wilson Fisk for a second, but she ended up actually killing his enemies. Look at this coloring job again. You see this, like, she's, like, staring into this background here. And she uncovers Wolverine at this point. And she's got the lab designed an enemy for her, basically, who is after her and going to kill her no matter what. And this is that gal. And she can't stop this gal, so she blows up a house to do so. Makes it look like people are dead. Captain America's struggling with, like, she's a murderer, so what do we do? And that's that. So this is where she actually meets Wolverine. And we get up to present day where Captain America and Daredevil show up, take her from Wolverine, and then figure out what they're going to do with her. And Captain America ends up feeling bad and just dropping her off at the end of it. And so that's it. Those are the 2 miniseries, and that's the most character development you're going to get out of her. Then we get into this weird one-off, which is just like she teams up with Captain Universe, and she ends up blowing up this AIM lab, and it's, pretty odd. And it just doesn't have much going on right there. All right. So this is what I'm talking about, the pages where they actually say what's going on in between things. Women of Marvel variant, this is one where she just, like, kind of has this background and thinks she's this killer murderer, and Wolverine's part of that. It's, I don't love this kind of, like, overly attempts to be arty. And they get back with the NYX crew in that issue, just to kind of, like, recap things. Skippable. And then they get into a miniseries where she's with the X-Men, and she's having dreams of killing people, and she doesn't know what's real and what's not. I hate these kind of stories. And then a lot of these dreams just end up being not real, and she ends up fighting things within her dreams. And it looks like people are killed. It looks like people are hurt, and she's dealing with that, and she's just really dark stuff. And, the art's nice enough in this stuff. Again, I get that feeling there's not, it's a little stiff because of the way that it's drawn versus the way that normal comics were drawn before, which I don't love it as much. This whole last issue is like her facing this, like, demon within her head. And so it's tough for me to get into. So, I don't know. And then we get the quick one-off with Ghost Rider, where the art really doesn't even match the rest of the volume. Just not even detailed at all. I don't know what they were doing. So that's that. A hodgepodge of stuff. I would say the Craig Kyle stuff at the beginning is very good, and the Christopher Yost stuff. Mike Choi art was a treat to read, and especially that colorist did a phenomenal job on that. That just made it pretty to look at. Very decompressed storylines in here, and the back half really didn't offer very much for the character. It's like they were progressing her in those first 2 miniseries, but then they do what they always do with characters and just kind of stagnate them because they don't know what to do with them. And that's what happened towards the end here. So, a mixed bag. It was fun. I would say that, I read this very quickly because it is pretty decompressed. So, most of it was pretty good. The art quality is very good in it, and that elevates the book, especially in the first half of it. And the second half, even though I didn't like it as much, I didn't bog it down too much, or do anything to bother me too much, I guess. So I'd say this is a 7.5 out of 10 overall. Good luck finding it out of print, and and very difficult to find at this point, and that's part of why I grabbed it. So I just wanted to let you know what's in it. You're not missing out on, I'd say, the best of Marvel, but this is pretty readable and pretty enjoyable. If you've read these before, let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll be back soon.